Hello and welcome to the British Sitcom History Podcast. Welcome back to the second half of our look at Last of the Summer Wine. We are looking at the first two series, the Blamire years. And if you haven't listened to last week's episode, you probably better go back and listen to that first because we're going to be continuing from there. I'm Gareth. With me as always is Alan.
Hello.
Hello. And so we're going to get back into our episode straight away, back to Home Firth. Now, just to remind our listeners, the episode that we've been looking at is Series 1, Episode 2, and it's called Inventor of the 40-Foot Ferret or Compo Goes to Church. Great title. Snappy. So, we've just been talking about Home Firth as one of the characters, and let's get straight back into the episode. We got back to the library. There's nothing new happening. The librarian and the assistant librarian are still having a bit of a fumble. And then we got back outside to our three main characters. And they're still talking about faith. I suppose this is like interesting philosophical chat, but I did think it's not very funny.
It's not very funny. You're right there. Yeah, it's... and like I said, we've said already that the plot-wise, this episode is like it's about faith or religion and what does that mean to our different characters, but it never really actually investigates it in any true sense. Let's start with a little clip here. Here's a bit of God talk as our characters are they're rescuing a kite from a tree, which they then play with the kite. So that's kind of what their lives are about. And here's what they're talking about as they're doing it.
I want to know if Clegg believes in the Almighty.
Who needs eternity? Suppose you're waiting for a bus.
I don't think it all ends when you die.
I've got it. Hey, if there is an heaven, do you reckon you could take your ferrets?
Who's that homely little angel in the wellies who's just passed you that guy?
Ferrets? I shouldn't worry unduly. Not a place you're likely to encounter.
If it's only for Conservatives that don't want to bloody go.
No, not...
That's very typical, isn't it? It's just back and forth.
Yeah. And Clegg is sort of having a different conversation to everyone else.
Clegg's just off in his own little world, mooning around talking about philosophy, and he just sort of makes speeches as if like he'd be doing exactly the same thing if no one else was there. I said last week, didn't I? It feels theatrical. It feels like a John Godber play, but not as good.
But that sort of clip showed the conflict between our characters, really, and the political conflict as well, like sort of the Blamire's conservative leanings and Compo's much more left-wing vibes, which apparently was reflected by the actors themselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently they, like when they first all got together, they ended up in a blazing row about politics, and basically the producer had to take them aside and say, "Okay, you're not allowed to discuss politics because we have to." So
are they according to type? Is Michael Bates the reactionary?
He's the right winger, certainly. Yeah, he's slightly old money kind of vibe.
yeah. So he's not just okay. So he's playing to type. Okay, yes. So look, we go back to the library. And this is interesting because the librarians are furtively talking and Compo's listening in and he takes the mickey, doesn't he? We actually see a bit of interaction.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all the librarian stuff. It just feels totally ancillary to me. It's like I just don't care. Like, why are we interested in these characters? Because we're not, and they're not. They're pretty broad, just silly characters. And if it's just to add a bit of colour and comedy to what is otherwise quite a slow and meandering old men talking, fair enough, I guess.
There's a bit here.
It feels like a totally different show to me.
You remember last week we were talking about how libraries are a socialist concept. There's a bit here that Compo basically looks at one of the newspapers and he tears the horses out. He tears like the horse racing section out of the paper for his own benefit. That made me incandescent with rage. Like that is public terrorism. Like, how dare you? That is there for everyone, and you think you're. I was genuinely raging about it. Like, I know it's just this little casual thing, not even alluded to, but it's funny what pushes my buttons.
Yeah, and like they are a nuisance in the library. Compo's eating his big sandwiches. They're smoking when they're not supposed to be smoking, and they're generally kind of falling out with each other and making a lot of noise and stuff. So yeah, I can see why the librarian wants to get rid of them. these
out of the library. You mentioned smoking there. We should talk about cigarettes because cigarettes are quite a big factor in the drama. Like basically, Compo is always bumming a cigarette off the other two, and
yes.
but as a result of that, like that's part of the character, part of the dynamic between them. But as a result of that, they've always got a cigarette on, haven't they? That's really weird. It's really jarring.
That was the time, I guess, wasn't it? You know,
for sure.
But we don't. I'd be interested to see where, like, as we're going along Last of Summer Wine, I think there's going to be a specific cut-off point where they don't smoke anymore.
There will definitely be.
Yeah, I mean, there are literal rules about showing smoking on TV, but obviously weren't then. But it'd be interesting to see when that comes in.
I wonder when. Yeah, we'll have to do a bit of research on that when it happens. Yeah. Well, I tell you what was interesting. There was one point, I don't know if it was this episode, where Blamire gets his cigarettes out, and I recognised that pack.
Oh, yeah?
Player's cigarettes he was smoking, and I recognised them because that is what my grandma smoked. It was like it was like a rush back to my childhood. I was gonna say I used to go and buy them for her. I don't think that's true. I don't think even in the early 80s that was allowed anymore. I don't think you could send your kids down the shop. But like I've sort of conflated that in my memory, perhaps.
Yeah, 10-year-old go down buying 2 cigarettes.
Yeah. I don't think you could do that even in the 80s. No. I tell you what, let's move from the library to a new set. So we're going to go to the cafe. So this is the first time we've seen the cafe in this episode. So go on, you set it all up for us.
It's a dirty, greasy spoon. Basically, it's pretty simple.
Gorgeous.
It's very small, but also in a sort of very TV way. There's like one table in the middle of the room, which is like, okay, I'll give you that as just the artifice of film. But you wouldn't get a lot of people in there, even in.
Sid's Cafe is still there in Home Firth. If you visit Home Firth now, you can go to Sid's Cafe. It's a lot nicer now than it was then. But I tell you what, I bet the cup of tea was better then.
I think it's all protected now. They've like got it under like some sort of community protection, so that it can't be kind of taken down. And
I would take a greasy spoon like that over Starbucks any day.
Oh God, yeah. But Sid's Cafe is a mainstay of the entire series, whereas the library kind of drops off. Sid and his wife Ivy. So Sid and Ivy they run the cafe. And they hate each other. That's their character definitions.
That's 2 lines. They run the cafe. They hate each other. That's all you need to know. They absolutely
let's set this whole thing up with a clip. Here's Sid and Ivy, a typical interaction between them.
When are you going to unbung that drain? Now, come on now, before your feet take root.
Look, if there's any little thing I can do for you, you won't hesitate to ask, will you?
Winter, you're supposed to hibernate. Winter, not every ruddy afternoon. Now, come on, it started smelling. I don't know what might be down there.
It'll be your mother. She's been through everything else.
Very good.
So that clip ends with our trio arriving at the cafe. And so
the argument doesn't stop there. They don't have any care for their customers.
No. But that argument between them is like the précis to our boys walking in. Here's a bit of colour for you. In the same way the librarians are canoodling just as our chaps come in. So that's the structure we're looking at here. It's like, okay, we're creating a slightly wider world, and we're just going to see a little glimpse of them just to set up this kind of general vibe. Now, we talked about the librarians last week and how I feel they didn't really work. They didn't fit in the world, and that they don't. Like I just don't care about them. Like it doesn't matter what we're doing. I think Sid and Ivy are different. I found that they are integrated into the world enough that you can care but without actually putting any weight on them in terms of plot structure and stuff. And I also think that they are more realistically drawn characters. Whereas our librarians are just, it's this kind of fanciful Marxist who is swooning over this woman. It feels like a silly comedy character. Whereas these guys, okay, it's a comedy and it's somewhat exaggerated for comedic purposes, but it's a rowing couple who just like work in each other's pockets all day and are just sick of each other. And we've all seen that in real life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, their lives look very unpleasant, don't they?
Well, their outfits look unpleasant. They're covered in grease and dirt.
Sid particularly is gross. He's wearing this sort of overall that's covered in stains. He's got really greasy hair. I would not eat a sandwich made by that man. He looks absolutely gross. I drink a cup of tea, but I'm not sure I want him to be handling food.
And we often see him when Clegg's bike plays up, they bring it in and he fixes it. He's like a handyman. He's always covered in grease, like not even food grease.
It's gross. It's gross.
He's a filthy man.
Yeah, and Ivy is what our granny would have called a harridan. She's she's just got nothing good to say, nothing positive. She's just always shouting at him. In fairness, he is useless, but it just looks like. Do you remember when we talked about keeping up appearances?
Uh-huh.
I said the problem for me is that it's just hanging around with pretty unpleasant people, and I just couldn't enjoy it because it was just hard work. That's what all the cafe scenes feel like to me. It feels like if you went into a pub and there was a fight going on, you would just leave the pub. That's how it feels, and I'm stuck in there with them.
I think the reason these work is because it's always just that little bit of background and we're not kind of having to live with it. And often the boys do run away from the cafe because it's God, let's get out of here. So I think this works. I think it's a nice balance. I'm not sure how that develops later on because we get so many more ancillary characters in this show. So we'll see about that. But in terms of Sid and Ivy here, the actors, we have John Comer plays Sid. Now, John Comer's an interesting story. He was, proper working class lad. He was a Bevan boy during the war, actually. He was a miner. And he got into the Northern Club circuit doing a comedy double act with his brother. So they were the Comer brothers, right? And he just got into films and he was sort of playing comedic, smaller roles in films, a day player kind of thing. And I got the impression that this was a regular role and it boosted his profile somewhat because there are then other more regular roles in sitcoms that come after this. They're like later in the 70s and the 80s. Like, so Life of Riley, he's in Potter's Pictures, Potter's Picture Palace. Oh, and there is a sitcom called I Didn't Know You Cared, in which John Comer is a regular character. But the interesting thing I found about that was that his wife in that show was played by Liz Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, a favourite of all.
Liz Smith, we know, Royal Family, Grandma in Royal Family. But wasn't she in an episode of this that we watched as well?
Yeah, so I pulled a little clip of Liz Smith just for the sake of seeing a bit of Liz Smith. Here you go.
Well, where are you taking me then? You promised me a night out, didn't you?
You've had it. This is it.
You must be joking. You don't think you're sweeping me off my feet with just one plate of mushy peas?
So that is an episode where
she already looks old, doesn't she? That's the thing. Oh, a nice young Liz Smith. I know she's probably 60.
But yeah, this is an episode where Compo is trying to get a woman. And so Liz Smith is this woman that he's courting, and he takes her to Sid's cafe for a plate of mushy peas. And if you're wondering what that strange noise was, it's she's wearing a red PVC coat, which is squeaking. So that's what that was.
Oh, there's very little time. Yes.
But yes,
so we have a bit more chat in the cafe. Oh, sorry. Do you know what? I'm moving on, and we haven't talked about the actress, have we? Who plays Ivy?
Oh, so Jane Freeman, who plays Ivy. I mean, frankly, this is what she's known for. She's in The Last of the Summer Wine like throughout the entire thing. She was in every not every episode, but every series. And her career is that of jobbing actor on little bits of sitcom here and there. So nothing particularly substantial to speak of, but a solid career. And certainly by the late 80s and beyond, this was what she did. There's obviously enough. Plan. Yeah, exactly. But we did see her. I don't know if you remember this. She popped up in an episode of The Blackadder, series 1. As
I do remember that.
Mrs. Applebottom, because when they're trying to marry, they're trying to marry off Edmund in series 1 of Blackadder. They're trying to marry off Edmund to someone for some reason. I can't remember why. Oh, so that he doesn't have to marry Miriam Margolyes, maybe.
Oh,
they find a rosy-cheeked country girl to marry him, and that was Jane Freeman in that.
I remember.
So like little appearances like that, but basically, nothing majorly notable like sitcom lineage other than Last of the Summer Wine.
So we're in the cafe, and after the argument that we just saw, we get a little bit more chat. I mean, I'm trying to tell you what happens in this episode. You can just basically a bit more chat is what always happens.
Yeah.
We do get that bit of Compo backstory here that his wife had run off with a fizzing pole. I'm sure. Well, I've written down a fishing pole because I didn't quite hear it, but you've explained that. It's fine. Did you notice that Compo put 6 sugars in his tea?
I did, in a very...
Listen, people like different things, and that's okay. To each their own. But frankly, at some point, you've got to admit you don't like tea. I'm glad she left him.
Well, as someone who doesn't particularly like tea, I have a lot of sugar in my tea.
Don't drink tea. If you don't like tea, don't drink tea. Have something else.
But I live in Britain. It's forced upon me in so many
People
situations.
like different things, and that's okay. But honestly, why soil a brew like that?
Well, I mean, it is related to Compo's character, I think, because he's got no teeth. He's got, obviously, and Bill Owen, that's his real teeth, it seems, because those gaps are real. You can't fake that. But obviously, if you see Bill Owen being interviewed or anything, he's got his dentures in. But so he obviously whips them out for the character and really takes advantage of that. He's gurning. It's very, very Albert Steptoe. But that's kind of his character. He doesn't look after himself. He's not clean. Much to Blamire's disgust, particularly.
There's a little casual homophobia here by way of background. So Clegg says that Blamire's mum tried to raise him as a little puff. And actually what we learn is that his mum was, had pretensions. And as a result of that, Compo used to bully Blamire at school. He used to nick his pocket money. Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah. How are we? And I understand that there's conflict here, but I can't imagine kids who bullied me at school. I wouldn't hang around with them.
Maybe you would if you knew you were so much better than them and it made you feel good about yourself. That's what Blamire's getting out of it, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose he's glorying it over Compo, yeah. So this is supposed to be about old men. So when the series started, Bill Owen was 59. All right.
Yes.
Michael Bates, 53. Peter Sallis, 52. So they're not really old men. They're not it's not one foot in the grave, is it?
That's an interesting comparison because I think Richard Wilson was 55 when that started.
Yeah, fair point. That comparison.
But he is supposed to be a bit older. Well, interesting. I think when people say Last of the Summer Wine, you say 3 old men rolling in a bath down a hill, right?
Sure. And I understand that they are going to get older as this series progresses.
But that's it. It ran for so long that they did become very old men. But just in terms of this first series, they are positioned as retired, essentially, in one way or another.
This is my point. I think that's wrong. I think they're middle-aged. They're middle-aged. I'm 50. And they're all, as we said last week, they're all some way unemployed, in some way alone. And it's about that existential, now what? But they're not retired. They're not one foot in the grave. They're not, just trying to see out the last few years. They're trying to figure out what the hell to do with the rest of their lives.
And the title is about that. The Last of the Summer Wine. It's not winter. It's just the tail ends of your peak, right? That's what it's about. And these guys are not old and retired. They have, for one reason or another, they are no longer needed by society as men, as working men, or as family men, or they are just not needed anymore. And that's the sort of tragedy of the situation. Yeah. And it's left them with a sense of existential, so what now?
I think that's really important.
I'm still useful.
Alan. I think that's really important because if they were 70, then that's fine. We've had our time, we've had our peak, and now we're just waiting for God. Whereas they're not. They're like, well, I'm not done yet. I'm not finished. I'm still here.
Yeah. I think a good comparison here is Still Game, which is about a bunch of old men who've got nothing better to do than play around. And, those characters are in their 70s, albeit played by younger men.
Sure.
And there isn't that existential dread about it. They're just like, I've done my bit and now I'm set, I'm doing what I want. I don't care anymore. Whereas these guys in Last of Summer Wine are still kind of fighting to be relevant in some ways, and including an episode in series 2 where they actually try and get a job and things like that. And their journeys to that are different. So Blamire, Michael Bates' character, he is essentially retired. He's had a military career, and so he retired younger than you kind of. But he's got a pension, and he's comfortable financially. He doesn't have to work. Yeah. With Clegg, he's been made redundant, but at a time in society where at 52 or whatever he's supposed to be, 55, you'll own your house by then, and so as long as you've got a little bit of money coming or pension or something coming in, you can basically live.
I mean, I don't know how old the character's supposed to be, but like I say, the actor's 52. He's not old enough to get a pension.
Yeah, but he's not out there going, "Oh, I'm worried about money. I've got to go and find some." He's whatever he is, he's comfortable, right? We don't know exactly why that is.
Yeah. They're all financially comfortable. Compo has no money, but he's comfortable with it.
Sure, yeah. Well, Compo is the interesting one because he's called Compo as in compensation. The idea is that he had some sort of industrial injury to his back 30 years ago, got an insurance payout, and has been living off it ever since. And there's some sense that, he's using as an excuse because he certainly seems very physically active when we see him. But he's found peace with that. He doesn't have any money, but he can bum cigarettes off his mates and eats basic cheese sandwich, and he's all right. They are the redundant men of this society, and the society doesn't need them or particularly want them. They're just annoying and in the way.
I'll tell you what, let's finish this episode off, then we can talk about Michael Bates. So this episode culminates, they go back to the church. Compo, for some reason, ran away from the church at the opening of the episode, if you remember. And now we're going to go back to the church, and we're going to challenge Compo. Why don't you want to go in the church? What's going on? It's all going to resolve itself. Is it?
So the church, when they actually go into the church, it's kind of the signature scene of the episode, and I found it really fascinating. I will accept. Hang
on a sec.
Well, I'll accept that
when you say
fascinating, nothing happens.
Yeah, okay. Well, because I know you want to talk about the set, and that's why you're fascinated by it, because you're a nerd, and that's good. That's what we do here. But let's just quickly finish off what we're loosely calling the plot, because nothing happens. Like, I was expecting there to be some revelation of something that had happened to Compo in the past, which is why he had this difficult relationship with the church, with God, whatever. No, nothing. Or
like the vicar comes out and goes, "Oh, you nicked money out of the plate."
That's what I was expecting. That is what I was expecting. And there's a load of physical comedy in this scene, which we'll talk about. But nothing essentially. There's no resolution. Nothing happens. Nothing happened. Nothing happens. That's it. I was really annoyed. I was genuinely annoyed again because I've just sat through this. Nothing's happened, and I was expecting something. That's it. The title. Anyway,
I think.
Why don't you tell us about?
I wasn't expecting anything. Maybe that's why I didn't bother me as much. I was just like, it's just meandering. That's fine. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's an interesting fact for you. So the exterior of the church, as they're walking towards it, that's a church in Home Firth. And just interesting fact. Both, yeah. Well, both Bill Owen and Peter Sallis are buried there.
Yeah.
Because of their connections to the area, they
So I was wondering when we were prepping for this episode, I was wondering, since I live so close to Home Firth, should I go and do some exterior shots and produce some content for our Patreons? But I actually went up to Netherthong Church and I took a photograph of their graves. But I was like, well, now what? That's not really content, is it? Like, what am I doing here? So, I might post the photographs on social media, but it's just two photographs of two graves. I don't know what to tell you.
You should have got a picture of you stood next to it, like doing double thumbs up.
Exactly. I got there. I'm like, well, I'm here. Now what? We're still new to this content generation game.
What you can do, like obviously Sid's Cafe is out there, and they do occasionally have like a little kind of last of the summer wine day, and they'll have a couple of people there and whatever. But I tell you what, apparently you can stay like as an Airbnb type thing in Nora Batty's cottage.
Well, Nora
should
Batty's
go and do
cottage
that
now
someday.
it used to be called the Nora Batty Tea Room. And I think probably due to the unique way the BBC is funded, it's now called the Wrinkled Stocking Tea Room. So it's what like if you see the exterior shots on Last of the Summer Wine, you've got Nora Batty who lives in the main house, and then underneath in a sort of basement flat is where Compo lives, and that whole complex is now a tea room. But yeah, I didn't know that. You can rent the room above, I assume.
I think so, yeah. I don't know if it's always available, but we should do it. We should go and do...
Well, we need a bit more Patreon income first. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to help us generate more content, patreon.com/BritCompod. For as little as £5.
Yes, please.
£5. I would say $5. For as little as £5 a month, you can help us to... I don't know, chuck money away on an Airbnb.
Yeah, we want to do more stupid stuff like that, and then see what happens. Go stay in Nora Batty's cottage and like pretend we're being haunted by Kathy Staff or something.
Hey, listen, we're going to talk about Nora Batty in a moment, but when this started, Kathy Staff was 45. Oh. Anyway,
this is why I go for younger women, Gareth.
She would be a young. Carry on. Tell me about the set, the church set. I've said how rubbish the scene is. You tell me all the technicalities. Come on.
Okay, first of all, I don't think the scene is rubbish particularly because I think there is a nice bit of physical comedy in here, which I appreciated just kind of in its own level. And it's physical comedy without resorting to rolling down a hill, which I think is important. So I quite liked it. It was almost silent comedy-esque because
it was.
They're in the church,
that's
so
the right
they're very
phrase.
like,
because it's not silent, but it is silent comedy-esque, definitely.
Yeah, they're in a church and they're just trying to have a moment of silence and respectful kind of contemplation. And obviously Compo is kind of ruining that by being Compo, and so he's the one who's talking and stuff. But I just thought it was a nice kind of the scene in isolation. I quite enjoyed it. Let's have a little watch of a scene, a little bit of it. And it might not mean much if you're listening on audio, so I apologize for that. But here we go.
Is somebody buried under there?
Oh, you jumped over the grave. But it's kind of like he's never been in a church before.
Yeah. Yeah, and the big laugh there was Compo doesn't want to walk over the grave. He obviously feels that's going to be weird. So, yeah. And then he goes around, he starts looking at stuff, and he's getting a nice response from the audience, and a very live and real response, which actually made me question a couple of things, because this church set is too good. And I was like,
it's massive.
Yeah, and it's really well appointed. And I thought, so is this an actual church? And they filmed in it. And you'll notice in the audio of that clip I just played, when they speak, there's an echo. When they walk across the stone floor, which does certainly appear to be a stone floor, it has that echo to it.
Well, can I come in there? So, because this is a really good question, which obviously I hadn't thought about. It's a very good set because it doesn't look like exteriors. We had them sitting in the laundrette earlier. We had them walking around, and that film stock has a different feel. This looks like studio film.
Oh yeah,
you're right.
It's definitely
right.
This is definitely not. Well, this is definitely not filmed. Like you're saying, you can very easily tell the difference between the film stock and the tape that they use in studio. So it's definitely on tape. However, it just looks too good. And the way that it's filmed as well, this is not a single camera setup. This is a 3 camera, or maybe it might be 4 camera, but whatever, normal studio setup. The audience response feels very live and real. This has to be a set. It has to be a set. But I don't know how they've got that echo on it. And I don't know how they've managed to create a set that is so nicely appointed. I will say that the sets in Last of Some Wine in general are very good. Like I say, there's another episode where they're in a country house and it's really nicely done. But this is just too good. And I actually pulled up a comparison for you here. So I've got an image here, which is from I've got one image that is from this episode, and another image which is from an episode in series 3, where they go to a wedding, and it's ostensibly the same church. The exteriors are the same, but just have a look at the difference in terms of how the set is comprised.
Okay.
I have to just sort of peer in a little because it's a
I can see
picture.
that. I can see. So, so the second one looks a lot deeper. There's a lot more to it.
Well, it's
the detail is incredible.
So when in the church scene, it's much narrower. The window in the back is 4 times smaller. There is a kind of a partition wall up to kind of hide the back, just with a notice board on it. It's just that second scene in the wedding scene, that's a sitcom set of a church. And like, there's a famous episode of Porridge where they end up, they go out for the day and they find themselves sort of in this church. And it's like, it has pillars, but you can see that they're painted to look like stone. You know what I mean? And it's not badly done. It's just done in the way that a TV sitcom in the 70s was done. It's just, that's your budget, that's your capabilities and time. But this first church is just too good, and I can't figure it out. If anyone out there knows any further details on this, or like how this was filmed, or the actual specifics of the time, it's just too good. And the way that it echoes when they speak and everything, it's so, it doesn't feel fake. It doesn't feel like, and just that you see so much of the floor. He jumps over the grave. That floor is real. You don't see studio floors very often because they have to cover them because it's just a studio floor. Like, it's
that echo. You make a good point about that echo. Is that can you add an echo in post in 1973?
I don't know. Not that cleanly. I don't think so. No,
I don't know.
I genuinely, I was like really quite impressed. Like, either way, however they did it, it's really nicely done, and I was very impressed with it. So I wanted to highlight that and just enjoy it. So that is perhaps why I enjoyed the scene more than you did, because I was thinking about all that stuff.
Yeah, well, maybe that was all good, all good points. I am genuinely interested in all that stuff, but you're the one who notices that rather than me. I'm not a massive fan of physical comedy. We've got a lot of that here. We saw him jumping over that grave. He sits on a hymn book. He's, we get a close-up of him pulling faces and picking his nose, all of that sort of thing, which, if you like physical comedy, Bill Owen is good at it, but it's just not my thing.
It's nicely done. It's nicely done.
And then the payoff is that the organist starts playing that toccata and fugue, which is like your classic horror film type tune. but nonetheless, there's an organist who we've not seen until now, and suddenly starts playing straight into the main bit of that. So they then run off, and that's it. That's the episode resolved. Like, we have a odd little transition scene at the end where we see Sid and Ivy from the Cath riding their bikes, still arguing, and then
still not relevant to anything.
Yeah, it's not relevant to anything. And then our boys come out, and we just finish with them looking out over Home Firth, still talking rubbish, and nothing has happened. Like, that's the end of the episode, and it's like, well, I just found it so frustrating. Like, As I said a couple of times now, it feels like a sort of social realism commentary on middle-aged angst. Fine, but it's not. That's not enough. I want a plot at least. I found the whole thing frustrating.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm not saying I really loved it or anything, but I think I kind of enjoyed it just in what it was. It's not an easy watch. It's not compelling. But I, if it was a one-off play, I could go, that was interesting. It was fine. But to do 6 episodes of it is a bit much, and then to do more of it and then just keep going. I think they did, or even by the second series, they started to pull more plot into it. They started to do more kind of actual, like, okay, let's give them a concrete thing to do rather than them just meandering.
Well, we're going to talk about Series 2 in a minute, but before we do that, let's dig into Michael Bates and talk about him and his background.
Yes, the Indian actor Michael Bates.
Yep, Indian born.
As you know, yeah. He was born in India in what is now Uttar Pradesh. His father...
Where was he born?
Uttar Pradesh.
Very good. Are you allowed to do that accent?
I'm here, I'm doing it.
It's all right. It's just a place name.
his father was a member of the Indian Civil Service. So Michael Bates was born in India, sent back to Britain as a young boy, 7, I think, to go to boarding school, and kind of went
That's the way to
did
raise
the
a
whole
person.
thing. Yeah, went up to Cambridge and all that sort of thing. So he's got that upper middle class civil service kind of background.
Well, that's interesting, Alan, because the Indian Civil Service was a way for people to raise themselves. So if you were a senior civil servant in India, over there, you'd be the grand poobah. You'd be be in charge of lots of people. You'd be very well respected. I know what I said.
Are you allowed to say grand poobah?
You would be in a very high status position. And you'd have a bit of money, enough money to be able to come back here and send your kids to school and throw the money around a little bit. But you wouldn't quite have the same status. The Indian Civil Service was not the British Civil Service, and it was sort of looked down upon by the class to which you were aspiring.
Yes. But from Michael Bates's perspective, during the war, he enlisted in the British Indian Army, which makes sense. He spoke Urdu and kind of had that background. And he was a major with the Gurkhas, serving in Burma.
Yeah, so the Gurkhas are from Nepal, which again, part of British India. They didn't really have the same labels then. But yeah, the Gurkha regiment is still part of the British Army, and it's Nepalese soldiers led by British officers. Yeah.
And all this goes to explain why Michael Bates was an obvious choice to play an Indian character in It Ain't Our Hot Mum.
Okay, here we go. We're going to have to tackle this.
Go on.
So Michael Bates famously, It Ain't Our Hot Mum, is not shown on the BBC anymore because it has characters in brown face, most notably the one played by Michael Bates. We can argue that it was a different time and it was perceived in a different way back then, and all that's fine. And I don't want to be, it's a disgrace. I understand that there were different standards. That's fine. But I think that the excuse that is sometimes given of, well, he was from India, he was born in India, that's absolute bullshit. Just because he was closer to the point of oppression doesn't make him not an oppressor. Okay, sure. I went a bit woke there. But the point is, he's a white guy playing a brown character. If you think that's right, then fine. If you think it's wrong, then fine. But the fact that he was born in India is completely irrelevant.
Well, I think it's not just an excuse. I think that is, like, from the point of view of Jimmy Perry and Derry Croft, when they're casting this, that is like, oh, that's perfect. Because he, like, from a 1974 perspective.
Oh, sure. It might have made him better at playing the character.
He would be better at playing that character than if we employ, a completely like Melvin Hayes can play the character or whatever, right? So that is, from their point of view, a good step in the right direction, but it means we can still get a good, solid comedy actor rather than some random Indian actor who's barely got any credits because no one will hire him.
Except that is true. From that point of view, that he's got some cultural context, and that will make him better able to portray the character. Accept that, but I don't think it makes it any more or less acceptable in a social way.
I put it to you that this portrayal is more respectful than Spike Milligan's portrayal.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah, sure. There are shades of grey within the brown face.
There are
absolutely
shades of brown.
Absolutely.
But that's not really relevant to what we're talking about. We'll do Ain't Our Hot Mum.
Listen. Let me just before we finish that up. My position is that you certainly shouldn't do that now. I probably think you shouldn't have done that then, and I understand why it's not broadcast on the BBC. But I don't think it should be banned and deleted and all that sort of thing. I think it's we talk a lot here about social context. We talk a lot here about these social documents that we uncover, and I think it's very valid.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Michael Bates, that was his vibe. He liked to play these. He played a lot of comedy, and he would kind of embody a role. He'd really get into it, and so he's exactly the sort of person who would be like, yeah, I can play an Indian character. Yeah, I'll just go and find out. Like Peter Sellers would go and do it. Like I will kind of make that really work well. Michael Bates himself, he was always cropping up in small roles within films. Like one of the more notable ones is A Clockwork Orange, where he's like the prison officer or some such thing.
We've mentioned Clockwork Orange before, and I revealed that I've never seen it, and I still haven't.
Crazy. There's lots of another because Kubrick loved filming in Britain, so there's like a lot of, like it's all British cast. There's quite a few TV actors, like Warren Clark is in it.
I'm too busy watching Plebs, mate. I've got another series of Plebs to watch.
Here's another film actually that Michael Bates appears in, and I want to nominate it for our Patreon episode this month.
Okay,
because it's a film by the name of The Rise and Rise of Michael Rimmer, which is essentially a Peter Cook vehicle, and it's about Michael Rimmer, played by Peter Cook, and he kind of works his way up the echelons of power. It's 1970, I think it came out, or certainly around that time, and it's very satirical. It's very kind of taking on the political times, and it's so packed, stuffed full of British comedy talent that I've been looking for an excuse to do it. And Michael Bates is in it. He's one of many, relatively small part, but he plays like the normal man. In fact, let me give you a little taster. Here's a clip of Michael Bates in that film.
How many times a week? You're joking. The last time was Tuesday, June the 3rd, 1953. It was a coronation that got there going.
So,
all right. Lovely.
So, I'm fascinated by that film, and I really want to talk about it. I want to talk to you about it. So, I'm the fact that Michael Bates in it.
That sounds good. Well, let me give a little plug for our Patreon then, because what we've been doing with the Patreon exclusive episodes is doing things that are a little bit tangential. We've done a Cliff Richard film, for goodness sake, but yeah. So we're going to do The Rise and Rise of Michael Rimmer, and if you would like to have access to that episode and all other Patreon exclusive episodes, then please look at patreon.com/BritCompod, and for as little as £5 a month, you can join our Patreons and have access to those new episodes, but also support the podcast too.
Yes, yeah. We're gonna have a lot of. It might be the longest episode we ever do. There's so many people in it. We have to not go into detail on every single one.
Put a bit of time aside for that. Yeah. Have we got anything else on Michael Bates then?
So yeah, just in terms of this tail end of his career, because he died quite young of cancer, so he died in 1978. So basically, he did Last of the Summer Wine started in 73. 8.5 Hot Mum started in 74, and it kind of both those shows, but particularly 8.5 Hot Mum, it raised him to another level. Like it was like he was a well-established comedy actor and everything. But that's one of those roles where, like, now you're a household name, right?
Yes.
And he got ill, he got cancer, and he did 8.5 Hot Mum and wasn't strong enough to do anything else. He kind of chose to persevere with that, and ultimately died. And even in the last episodes that he's in, he's visibly weaker. He's walking with a stick. He's sat down most of the time, but the performance is still there. It's very bright and sparky, and perhaps not quite what it was a few years earlier. But like that was as much as he could do. So it was one of the things that
just to bring it back to Last of the Summer Wine there. The way you framed that was, he didn't have the strength to do both, and he chose 8.5 Hot Mum. But perhaps there's something there about all the exterior shots that we've talked about, all the walking around Home Firth and the moors. It is that sort of show. That is a feature of Last of the Summer Wine, and perhaps illustrates why 8.5 Hot Mum, he's just kind of sitting in a studio for a few hours.
Yeah, certainly. That was just physically easier. Plus, I think it's a more interesting role. We've sort of discussed all that, but I think from a character actor point of view, and at the time you're probably not even worrying about any ethical considerations. So it's just like, that's a more fun character. It's kind of a bigger character in the not in the actual times on screen kind of sense, but a more fun and probably a bigger show in terms of its immediate impact. So, maybe that's the obvious choice, but Last of the Summer Wine was what got left behind. Yeah. And so by series 3, he is the plot goes that he's gone off to somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but he's gone off somewhere because he got a letter from an old flame so he's gone to chase that basically, and introduces a new character, Foggy Dewhurst, played by Brian Wilde. Now, we're not going to go into that now. That'll be something we deal with in the future, but basically they introduce a new third man of a similar-ish kind of character in terms of how it achieves the threesome, but is a different character. and we will talk about the dynamic and how it changes and how it changes our characters another time.
At some point, yes. Very good. Anything else on Michael Bates? I want to just briefly talk about something else about the character, but anything else on Bates?
I want to show you a clip from an episode in Series 2. Now, Series 2, I think, got a little bit more kind of overtly comedic, let's put them
plot
on a motorbike and roll them down a hill kind of vibe. It's definitely leaning more into a bit of physical comedy. And there is an episode where, particularly Blamire wants to get a job because he's feeling kind of redundant. And so he goes and he gets a job as a door-to-door salesman selling what is polish, but it's kind of a dodgy product. It's a whole kind of comedy thing. And the other two just come along with him just because they've kind of got nothing better to do. And comedic hijinks ensue. But the clip I'm going to show you is he's been sprayed in the face with a load of paint and he doesn't know. And so everyone's kind of like freaking out when they look at him. And so this is the point where he realizes and then sees himself in the mirror. And, he gets Ivy in the calf, smashes him on the head with a tray right at the beginning of this clip, which is perfectly nice.
Of course.
But just in terms of physical comedy and comedy acting, just tell me how you feel about this.
Okay, you're gonna have to explain that for the people who can't see it. He looks in the mirror, does a big old face pull, then he turns to camera and does a face. He's Tim from The Office in it.
He's interesting reference, because when I saw this, I thought, "Are you having a laugh? Is he having a laugh?"
Yes. Yeah.
Like it's a full-on turn to camera gurn pull a face. And
can you believe it?
It's so big, and like, to be fair, like Michael Bates, you generally speaking is perfectly good comedy actor, but this is like so over the top, and this feels like a director should have stepped in and said, "Hang on, we need to do something differently here." Like an outsider needs to go, "This isn't working."
Intervention.
I think this is an example of how the show, even by Series 2, was just changing slightly and kind of leaning into slightly more ridiculous comedy and physical, not stunts quite, but that way. Oh, speaking of stunts, there was a nasty bike crash, I noticed. And now we
well, listen, this is for non-regular listeners. This is a regular thing. I love a bad bike crash because, let's face it, a bicycle crash is quite a hard thing to simulate without hurting yourself. So whenever we see a bike crash, come on, show us.
Well, this goes back to when we watched a bit of Rollover Beethoven, and there is the worst bike crash in history. But so this is Kathy Staff as Nora Batty being surprised by Compo and falling off her bike.
Sexually harassed. That's not bad. Alan, we've seen a lot worse than that. That wasn't bad.
Yeah, because she just sort of stumbles over the bike. I've got another one for you, though, because obviously we all know, this is a good way to sort of close off, I think. We all know Last of the Summer Wine is 3 men rolling down a hill. That's what it is. And here's a little bike crash for you where all 3 of them are on one bike, and have a look at this.
Oh, classic music as well. Okay, that was more like it. That was really rubbish. All 3 of them.
That's a difficult thing.
Just to the side,
to
into grass, very gently.
Well, 3 actors all falling off a bike at the same time. That's a difficult thing to sort out. And you can't hurt them.
I'd seen the Nora Batty one. That was on one of the episodes I watched, but I hadn't seen that second one. That is glorious. Very good. Very good.
Well, we are connoisseurs of the bike crash on sitcoms. So there we go. Quite a lot of bike crashes in this, actually.
So we've finished our episode there. We finished Michael Bates. You'll forgive me, this is a little self-indulgent, but I'd just done a bit of research on Blamire has a blazer badge. He has a blazer on, and there's a badge on it. Have you any idea what that was? Because I have done the research.
old school tie kind of vibe, is it? Or
Not
some
the old
military
school
thing?
tie; it's the regimental tie. Yeah. So it's the cap badge of the Duke of Wellington's regiment, sometimes called the West Riding Regiment. And this is a little self-indulgent because, well, look, the regiment was formed originally in 1702, but named after the Duke of Wellington after he died in the 1850s, and they fought in World War II at Dunkirk. They were in North Africa and Italy, and then they fought in France after D-Day. And unfortunately, in 2006, the regiment was folded into what's now the Yorkshire Regiment. But the self-indulgent link is that our Uncle Derek was Regimental Sergeant Major for the Duke of Wellington's regiment. So back in the 80s and 90s, he was a senior warrant officer with that regiment. So there is a nice family connection there. So forgive the self-indulgence, our listeners, but we're brothers, and we're gonna lean into.
We are Yorkshire folk, after all. This is a Yorkshire sitcom.
But a nice bit of verisimilitude in the costume department there. So it was the right regiment. It was the right one that he would have been part of.
And just, I do have one more clip. I'm gonna leave us with this, and it's the end of our episode. So it's just one last moment of them walking around the hills and just talking about nothing, basically. But I will leave us with that. So thank you so much for listening, and please do get in contact with us. We are on Instagram at BritComPod. Facebook, go and find us on there by searching for British Sitcom History Podcast. And you can, if you're listening to the audio of this, you can find the video of us talking and all the clips on YouTube. Search for British Sitcom History on there. And please do support us, patreon.com/BritComPod. £5 a month will help us produce a lot more content. Thank you so much for your support.
Thanks, everyone.
And thank you. And we will be back next week. We haven't told them what we're doing next week, Gareth. That would be a good thing to do, wouldn't it? So
next week is our bonus episode, and we are going to be covering Spanners 11. That might not mean anything to you. Alan, do you want to explain that?
It's an episode of 7 of 1, which was the Ronnie Barker anthology series of pilots. It's where Open All Hours came from, that series, and Porridge. So this is one of the other pilots that didn't become a series, but it is written by Roy Clark, and it's around the same time period as this, and he was obviously turning out a few different pilots at this time. So I thought it'd be an interesting one for us to look at. We get to see a bit of Ronnie Barker, which is always nice.
Yeah.
Right, so I will leave you with a clip. Goodbye,
thanks, everyone.
And
we'll see you next week. Bye.
It's an open question, life. Anything's possible. I mean, what do we really know about anything?
Maybe we're already dead.
That's what?
Maybe we had to die to get here from some other place.
Oh, give us a fag before I get your headache. So this is heaven, then? Or the other place?
Well, it can't be the other place.
Why not?
In Yorkshire. It'd be further south, wouldn't it?
Amen, brother.